And it looks like we are live once again. Welcome back to the Manny Wolf Show. As you may or may not know, it used to be the Quarantine All-Stars, but let's face it, that gets to be a bummer after a while. Today I am happy, proud, nay, honored to bring you my good friend Patrick Kirby, who is in the serious business of fundraising. Patrick, what's happening, man?
What's up, man? How are you? I'm very excited. I've been waiting a very long time to be invited to be on the show, and I'm very excited today.
And that's me too. I'm so excited that we could somehow make it work quickly because by and large, the show is booked out weeks in advance right now, which is really cool. Awesome. But you sort of were able to jump in on like the one opening I had on, whatever. Give me just a second, audience. Give me just a second, Patrick. I've got to do this whole sharing thing here. Yeah. I love it. Because, I mean, really, sharing is caring.
We want everyone to see what fun banter we have together.
That's right.
And we don't want to limit this to the just few people on one thing. We want all the things.
That's right. We want all the things.
We want all the
things. That's really what it comes down to. So it was very cool how quickly we were able to lock this in. Who the hell are you and why should we care?
Very true. That's a great question. I am Patrick Kirby. I am the founder of Do Good Better Consulting. We are a firm that helps nonprofits suck less at fundraising.
Yes.
I got that elevator pitches down to a thing. And I concentrate on small and medium-sized nonprofits. I help clarify messaging. I get them a plan, help them figure out where they're best suited to maximize their fundraising abilities, special events, anything that you think. I just want to help. I'm in the business of trying to help as many nonprofits as possible, and that's what I do.
What I think is cool about this is in the time that we've known each other, you have established to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that in a digital world full of people who are comfortable to seem, you are actually doing.
Yeah.
And I
thank you.
Everybody I bring on here has that in common, but it could be misleading because it's actually a pretty uncommon thing. There are a lot of people just sort of paper tigers in the entrepreneurial space. You are not that. So let's talk a little bit about, I think when we think of fundraising, when I do, I think of sitting down in an office at a desk and writing a grant proposal or something like that.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about like how right or wrong am I on that? What does it really look like? Because you just mentioned you help with messaging, you do events. I know that you have done just a countless number of events in the time that we've known each other.
Yes.
I wonder if people think of fundraising the way you do fundraising.
I think a lot of people have a certain segment of what they believe fundraising is different. So a lot of people maybe think, okay, it's just grant writing, or it's just major gifts, or it's just capital projects for schools and churches and that kind of stuff. Yeah. What I believe is that the best fundraising entities have a diverse grouping of where money comes in, and most of it is based on personal relationships with people. Long-term personal relationships. And a lot of that has to do with what story matches well with those who have the capacity to give to your organization. I've always been a believer that it is not an organization's need to have that's the most important thing. It's the donor's need to give. And if you have an understanding about that as a fundraiser, the doors are wide open to the possibility that you're going to get some sort of individual connected with you, and then you're going to passionately explain and relate to that person. And if you don't, it's okay, because there's abundance of wealthy individuals, or not even wealthy individuals, just people who want to give to your organization. It's the groups that don't think there's a lot of people who have the capacity to give, or who are insistent that they need to tell you why their organization is great, rather than asking questions on why they would be a great fit for your particular nonprofit. And I think that's the difference between a great fundraiser and a good fundraiser, is that understanding it's a personal relationship that's more about the donor than it is about you as your organization.
That opens me up for a very organic way into power of relationships in general, you know. One of the things that I bring into my set of assumptions about fundraising is it's a long, arduous, tedious process. It's, you know, and I don't know, it's so funny because now that I know you and we're friends, I had a question like, where did that assumption ever even come from?
Yeah.
You know, ever since I was a little kid, I've always dreamed of doing big projects, big, meaningful projects. That I'm not alone in that, I know. And it's so funny because over time, the way a stalagmite or a stalactite forms, I just sort of coalesced this limiting belief, you know, that fundraising is this esoteric thing. You have to find someone who can do it for you, but they're hard to get a hold of, and it takes a long time. And it doesn't seem like any of that's necessarily true.
No, I think the ultimate goal is a long-term relationship where somebody believes in your organization so much they say, I want to give you a percentage of my wealth when I die. That's the ultimate. And that takes a long time. But what doesn't take a long time is a spark of passion that says, I think what you do is amazing, and I feel like you do such amazing things. I'm going to vote with confidence in a check to you.
Yeah.
Now, what you do with that is what determines whether you are a transactional fundraiser or a transformative fundraiser. And what I mean by, if you have a spaghetti feed, if the Manny Wolf Foundation has a spaghetti feed, and I pay $5 and I eat all the spaghetti I can, and I feel horrible because I ate too much spaghetti, but then you send me a thank you note and we shake hands virtually and I say, thank you for the spaghetti, that's a transaction. I've given you money, you've given me a thing, I helped raise money, we're done. If I give you $5 and you tell me the very next day, your $5 allowed us to do this, this, and this, and without your gift, we couldn't do anything about it, I just want to let you know that and say thanks. All of a sudden now I go, what if I give you $10? What could you do with that? What if I give you 100? What if I get 10 friends to give you $100? What impact can we make because you've now invested me in this success? That starts on this long-term relationship that has short-term spikes of passion because I am now in constant communication and in love with what you do. And now you're inspiring me to be passionate for it. And that's what's awesome.
And do you think that in addition to being in love with the mission, I'm hoping for a certain answer here, do you think that it's important for the people to sort of be in love with you?
You know what? It's funny. I think I think the messenger is more important than the mission most of the time. And what I mean by that is you can have a great mission. We help starving kids. Great.
Right. Yeah.
If you are a horrible communicator and you are not passionate about what you do, your mission doesn't mean anything because nobody wants to pay attention to you. If you are a emphatic communicator about, I love this and this is what we do and this is why we're doing what we're doing, people are drawn to the magnetic personality that somebody who's passionate about your organization. And I think you are. I also say often to those who I work with as clients and organizations that I work with is third-party endorsement is exponentially more important than first-party solicitation. So people telling you that if I told you, if I'm working at a foundation and I say, Manny, I need you to give me $1,000, it's going to help. You expect me to ask you that because it's part of my job. I get paid for that. Yeah. If somebody else down the street says, hey, Manny, have you heard of this foundation that this Patrick Kirby guy works for? It's unbelievable. And let me tell you why. Your ears perk up because for some reason, their opinion matters more than somebody who's working in there, because that's why Amazon reviews work. That's why we trust our friends. And so the goal then becomes, how do you make disciples, for lack of a better term? How do you get other people to talk about how amazing you are? And that's a lot of work that you need to put into those that passionately believe in what they're doing, and how can you empower them to go out and tell that story to as many people as possible, so that you can begin to develop real relationships with people that they bring in and have them feel the same passion. Because I think people always look for, I want to be as passionate as that guy, or I want to be as amazingly enthusiastic about that lady who is just talking about this, this, and this. They're drawn to it, right?
There's something about passion just as an abstraction, right?
Yes.
I mean, it really plays out on a lot of levels. This is really, really good. Not only, I think, hopefully for people watching, but for me, because one of the trends that I'm seeing in general and in the interviews I keep doing is that we're moving more and more toward an economy of what I would call the personal brand.
Yes.
But what I really mean is the economy of you are the commodity more than the thing you sell, do, offer, teach,
right,
whatever, right?
Right.
And it's so funny because 5 years ago or whatever it was, you and I were talking about the importance of public speaking,
right?
The importance of being a good communicator. And this is one of those moments where the time and the moment really caught up with what we were talking about. I actually know someone who is emphatic about feeding kids, but who is super hard to deal with and a bad communicator. When you were saying that, I was like, wow, I wonder if he's talking about the same person.
And as much as you love their mission, there's probably an inkling in the back of your head that says, well, I don't even know if I give him money, where's this going to go? Because I don't know what he's talking about, or he's not really telling me where it's going to go. And he kind of sees some whole hum about what he's doing in the first place. And that's a dangerous model. Now, you can get into a dangerous precedent where the cult of personality who's talking about the organization leaves, and then their donors go along with it. And I think that's just something that you need to do organizationally speaking, is sort of make sure that you've got a succession plan going. But you're right. I think if you are the frontline face of an organization and you're talking with people all the time, you are what people see as your particular nonprofit. And the same thing goes too, Minnie, and I think a lot of this is relatable to business people. It's a business model, right? If you're selling a product, it's the same way. If you are representing a business, it's the same way. I do a keynote chat, and I do trainings on treating your customers the way nonprofits treat their donors, because it's a mindset shift of how do I present myself and my business to tell people what impact they're making by purchasing a product we're doing, and what does that have to do with it? How can I use gratitude and appreciation to lead with those things as a business person? And a lot of these traits have very similar effects positively on both the nonprofit world and the for-profit business.
How did you first get into what you do now? It doesn't seem like anything I've ever seen a college career track on.
Yep.
I know a few people that do similar to what you do.
Yeah.
And in a way, I'm in awe of all of you, because it seems like such a strange line of work. You literally just ask for money and get it.
Yeah.
It's like, it seems like we'd all do that.
We in the nonprofit fundraising world refer to ourselves as unicorns, because there's not a lot of us, and we're very weird in general, because that's an odd thing to say. Okay, your career path is going to go to people who have wealth and say, you should, we would like that wealth to be given to us.
We would like
nobody in the right mind. Yeah, nobody in the right mind would want to do this. And I've talked a lot about it in training pieces as accidental fundraisers. People who work at nonprofits who maybe are the program people working with individuals with developmental disabilities or delay, or individual private schools, or sort of people with disadvantages, homeless, hungry, those kind of things. They're doing it because it makes them feel good. That's their passion project. And at some point, they're going to need money, and they're going to look around the room, and you get to go do fundraising.
Yeah.
And so there's not a training program that you can go through. And outside of maybe the Lilly School of Fundraising in Indiana, there's not really like here's how to be a fundraiser degree. You don't get
right.
that.
Right.
So they accidentally show up in the same where my path is I graduated college with a politics degree, which means I was unemployed.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that. By the way, if you don't, unless you're going to teach this stuff, this is a horrible degree. Like, this is not worth it.
I would not do this if I were you. This is a terrible degree. This is a horrible choice.
It's terrible for you. But I got it, and my old private high school called, and they said, we're looking for an alumni guy to do some events and some fundraising. Would you be interested? And I got no other plans. I'm going to do it.
Sure.
And that began my journey. I started doing appeals and events. I went on to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation out of the Twin Cities, and I ran their regional walk programs, their gala. We raised, on average, we raised $1 million net a night, like doing that event. And it was just this remarkable thing. And I moved up to Fargo, where I'm at right now, and got recruited out to work at the Ann Carlson Center, which is this wonderful facility in the middle of nowhere, North Dakota, that helps young adults and kids with severe developmental disabilities, delays, autism, that kind of stuff, live as normal and an independent life as possible. And that's kind of where everything changed, because I was asked then to mentor small nonprofits on how to fundraise. And that's where it clicked for me. I said, if I can have that light bulb moment help with as many people as possible, I'm in and addicted to this. And so that's what kind of got me on this entrepreneurial journey on how can I develop a plan and a program and help tons of small nonprofits raise money, because I know how to do this. How do I teach them how to do this? Because they don't know where to start. And that's really what got me on this wonderful path that I'm on, which is helping others figure it out. And that's the joy I get, is that moment where it goes, oh, it's not as complicated as everyone made it out to be. It's having conversations and asking questions and being inquisitive and matching up my passions with other people who have that passion too, and then asking them to come along on the journey, right? And that's what fundraising is. It's just getting them to be side by side with you and saying, this is what we could do together, man. I think you should come and join us. And people want to feel that joy with them. So,
yeah, I love that. That's so different than the sort of the idea I built up in my head around the whole process, the whole art. So I guess what I'm really curious to know is, how would you tell somebody, let's say that somebody's watching this and is sparked, how would you tell them to get started?
Mm-hmm. I would say find an organization that you are passionate about and volunteer, and ask them how you can help with their fundraising, whatever, because you'll learn whether you like doing this or not right away. And whether you're comfortable with the idea of being told no. The best relationship building fundraiser that I have ever worked with was a 25-year used car sales vet. And he was unbelievable. Not even used. He was a new car salesman. Did it for 25, 30 years. He retired and got bored of retirement, and then came out of retirement to work at a nonprofit that was a client of mine. And the reason I knew he was going to be good is that I asked him a question, like, how many repeat customers did you have? And he goes, oh, I got more repeat. Most of my customers are repeat customers over the course of 25 years. I go, you're the person, because he's understanding that this is a long play, that he understands that people trust him with big decisions on large purchases of $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 trucks. And they trust him enough to call and say, hey, do you have anything for me? I trust you. I don't trust anybody else. I'm going to call you. I'm going to follow you from dealership to dealership, wherever you go, because they trust him. And I go, that type of personality where people will follow you because you are tried and true, care for others, not necessarily yourself all the time, but care for others. That's what makes a great fundraiser, is that your ability to listen to what people are telling you, connecting the dots, and not selling, but providing them a solution to having them feel great. Drive off a lot, you feel great. Donate to a charity, feel great. Whatever that path of that thing in your brain that tells you, like, I want to do more of that, That's
Yeah.
what donating is. And if you can get people to figure that out, it's great.
It's dopamine, by the way.
Yeah. And by the way, donating to a charity is the same chemical reaction that you have with booze and sex and alcohol and drugs. That's the same experience, and you can do this all the time. You just because that gratitude that you get from feeling about giving to an organization and being a part of something great. That's what we're built for. That genetically, we're built to feel like that.
I think that's an interesting idea too. I agree with you. We are. It's funny because we live in a construct that suggests go after your self-interest, go after what's best for you. All this sort of like manifest destiny, the rights of the individual, the values of the individual. And I'm all for the rights and values of the individual. But one of the things that that seems to be more irreducible, that lives underneath the US construct versus the Asian construct or whatever, is this I think it comes down to mirror neurons and a couple of other little mechanisms inside of us. But when we give and when we're kind and when we serve, it's one of the greatest feelings we will ever experience. You know, accomplishment and achievement are wonderful. They're really, really gratifying, but you know,
short-lived.
They're short-lived. And I'm just thinking about like a time that I ordered too much food on a date, and we're walking from the restaurant to the car, and here's this homeless guy sitting here. And this is not a self-righteous sort of reverie here, but you know, instead of keeping the food, I walked up to him and I said, "Hey man, are you hungry?" And he was so grateful. Took the food, started eating it right away. As an object lesson, that feeling kind of stuck with me the whole night, you know, and I can still tap into it now. I'm not as able to tap into the very moments of achievement in as visceral a way. So I think that those pieces inside of us that are wired for connection and service, I think they're deeper.
It's instead of an I, it's a we. And there's a reason why people love being on a team, on a winning team, on a successful team, because it's not just them doing it, it's everybody collectively. You want the praise, and that's great. And some individuals give because of that, but really they know the feeling is you're giving bigger and better than yourself. That's really what it is. I think that's a really interesting way to help people understand why it's important to give. And why when you are going out and beginning as a fundraiser for the first time, is how do you tap into that reaction? How do you tap into them understanding about how do you position yourself to say, I'm going to make you feel really good about this? You're not going to tell them that, but you're going to position them to give. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, I got to have that feeling again. I need more of that reaction. And it's interesting too, as a fundraiser, you'll get caught in this circle and this cycle of gratitude, which is somebody will give you money. You will then say, thank you for the gift. That person will then say, no, thank you for allowing me the pleasure of doing this. And it's this, now you're in this like matrix loop of gratitude where you keep thanking each other for thanking you for the, it's unbelievable. I wrote a thank you card. This is the weirdest thing, where I will teach people to write thank you notes on Fridays. One of the things that I do is like spend 20 minutes writing 5 thank you notes, handwritten, every Friday. It's just a mantra that we just use in the nonprofit world. And for things that don't even require you to have somebody donate, it's just write a letter of gratitude and be the person that people want to hear from. And one of the things that people find is people will write thank you notes for the thank you notes. It's the most bizarre thing on earth, and it makes you feel like you have done now a cycle, because the minute you send one of those things, imagine you open it up and you're like, oh, that was so nice. You're not immediately going to go, that was so nice, I'm going to murder people. Like, that's not the reaction you get.
Typically not.
Typically not. You will get, I need to go and be more grateful to others the way that Patrick or Manny wrote me a note that was grateful for others. If you want to spread the love. And that's, I think the power of philanthropy is that. And we harness that. And I think that's an incredible way to position yourself if you're just starting out, is how do I give people an opportunity to feel great about giving?
Man, I really like that.
Mhm.
So you feel like giving is a little more contagious than like accumulation or those other sort of self-serving
Yeah.
benchmarks and accolades.
Well, I think we go in cycles in life too. You spend a lot of time collecting wealth throughout your life, right? I need more money. I need more success. I need more. You get to a plateau where you're like, now what do I do with it? And now you start giving it away.
Yeah.
And traditionally, and you'll see this in studies everywhere, is the minute you start giving it away, the better you feel about your own life.
Yeah.
But we spend most of our life just trying to collect it. And that's the interesting thing, where if you can enact in your children the idea of donating, and not charity. This is not feeling bad for somebody and giving. But if you can feel like you can invest and donate and support and be philanthropic, your kids are going to be a better suited for life, just knowing that they have this intrinsic idea that giving is expected, and you should be doing that. Yeah.
And I think that it's interesting because there are a lot of things in life that are sort of, I think of them as like cosmic jokes about the human experience, right? And one of them is there's a lot of things that you can't see until you go through them. And so what I mean by that is, you talked about spending your life accumulating wealth only to turn around and give it away. The whole process is important, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because in many cases, you're going to become the kind of person who would even be philanthropic through the pursuit of the money.
Right.
I know that the idea for me when I was destitute, and I have been absolutely, poverty level destitute in my life, the idea of giving seemed like an insanity.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well ask me for one of my fingers.
Right.
Now it would not be so crazy, but at the same time, I'm in no way that same person internally.
No.
Yeah. So that's an interesting kind of a catch-22. And the thing is that if I didn't know better, I could look back now and go, oh, you probably could have started giving way back then, and it probably would have made your life easier.
Right. 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 And then, but I love that about the journey, is that then you get to actually ask questions about that with the potential donor as an organization. Is why do you give in the first place? I'm always super curious about the reason people give. And usually it's a backstory with a connection. Either somebody asked me to, and I just fell in love with the organization. That's one. Number two, I had an experience with whatever the organization is. I was, we had an individual in our family that was abused as a child, or we've got a kid who has autism, or whatever the kid. You probably connected to it, and learning about that then allows you to ask even deeper questions on what they would love to see as a solution. What would you like to see?
Philosophy is that fundraising is relationships, and relationships are like, there's no separating the two. Do you have a philosophy about relationship building you can share with us?
Yeah, be purposeful with it.
Okay.
I don't think you need to. A lot of people leave it by chance, and I think part of fundraising is you can plan all you want, but like you just said earlier in this conversation, is if you don't execute on that plan, why are you doing it? Be purposeful with the questions you ask. Be purposeful with your appreciation. Be purposeful with your celebrating of successes. I don't think a lot of fundraisers think about it I'm methodically marching down the field with these particular donors. And I think you have to. I think that's the difference. And I've found that you pay more attention to your donors and your supporters and your cheerleaders if you're purposeful with it, rather than just saying, oh, you know what, I think today I'm going to do these 20 things. Build a process, and it's okay. I think the knock on that is, well, if you're methodically calculating a relationship, it's inauthentic. And I think that is that doesn't work anymore, because we all have the attention span of gnats now. Yeah. And if I don't take a billion notes and I don't put things in my calendar, I won't remember it. Yeah. So if I'm putting it in my calendar to remind myself that I need to touch base with Manny because I haven't talked to him in a while,
Right.
And I just want to check in to see how he's doing. How is that purposeful connection with you not authentic? It's me authentically putting it into my calendar to remind myself that I think I want to make sure that I'm keeping in touch, because life gets busy. We all have those people that we like, hey, you know, I should have reached out to that person.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You left it to chance. And I think that's what I've really learned over the last, 15 odd years doing fundraising professionally, is that be purposeful in your relationships. And it's okay to do that.
I like that. And that's been a shift that I've sort of undergone personally and internally as well. I don't have the bandwidth to cultivate every relationship, especially now as the ratio has sort of flipped and it's more people coming to me to, just to start relationships with me. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because I'm so cool. In case that was, in case that needed
already established. Yeah.
Right. It's because I'm so awesome. But it has flipped, and in the beginning, I was very much like sort of gathering the gestalt of all the people who were saying relationships are currency and capital, Gary Vee and Jordan Harbinger and a guy, Steve Sims, I think you might know.
Yes. Yeah.
Steve is maybe the master of cultivating win-win relationships. Yeah. And a lot of other people as well. And when I was first starting out, it had no sort of credibility, no brand, no body of work. It's like, oh God, I got to figure out how to do these relationships. And that felt to me transactional masquerading as intentional.
Yes.
But now it's the other way around. I guess what I'm saying is, like, I have to be a little more careful now because I can't manage 500 relationships.
No, that's why you have to be difficult with it. And it's great. And that's where I think, and just to make it a turn to a nonprofit role, when you get to that point and you have too many on a caseload, for example, right? You now are out of touch with the majority of them, and you need to now send that to somebody else or give a volunteer this list of people to build a better relationship than you. And that is self-awareness.
Yeah.
It is that you can't do everything. You can't do it all. You have to invest in growing your nonprofit and hiring somebody to manage some of those things, or build a system that you have where you touch base with them every quarter and just to say hi, because this person doesn't need anything other than a touch point or whatever.
Yeah.
And that becomes purposeful. And it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get away from that stigma that being purposeful in relationships or valuing a $100,000 donor and how you take that person's relationship more seriously than somebody who gives you $10 every year. Now, to the person who gives $10, that might be all they can give. And you want to make sure that they feel as if that $10 donor is great, because it is.
Right. Yeah.
But because you pay attention to the $100,000, because that person can make maximum impact immediately.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay to have that, as long as you are aware that you're trying to get your mission and your impact maximally. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think that there's there's kind of a real lesson being pointed to here. I love that you're saying be purposeful with your relationships. In general, we just have to be purposeful with our time, right? Because it's one of the unexpected opportunity costs of having access to the world, having access to all the information. Is you just get catatonic if you don't have an approach going in.
Right.
I mean, how many of us have sat down, opened up Google and completely blanked out? Totally forgot what you were doing, right? It's because the whole world is at your fingertips now. It's like it's the tyranny of choice on a level that is like hitherto undreamed of.
That's the other thing too, and that's why I think planning is really an important part of building a fund. You got to build a fundraising plan. What are you trying to do, and who are you serving, and what's that purpose? That becomes your true north. What's your point of difference of any other organization? And I teach a lot of that, which is what's your point of difference? Concentrate on that. That your mission becomes the thing that if you get lost in Google, I got my mission statement. By doing what I'm doing here, I'm okay. And and that's what matters most, I think, to a lot of donors and a lot of individuals who support groups. It's just super important that way.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a little off of just fundraising, which I'm sure is fine with you, but it's just so fascinating to me, the things that we now have to teach ourselves as the work a 9-to-5 job for 40 years and retire with a nice watch kind of model is going by the wayside. It's really, I'm not sure what kind of work model I was ever cut out for. You know,
me both.
Yeah. And so there's got to be for me some excitement, some motivation. And I've played around a lot with what that is for me, and I still experience. In fact, it's so funny because for the last 4 interviews I've given, I've wound up saying I was just journaling about this today, and I don't know what that's about, but I was just journaling about this today, right? Do you think that you're going to be needing to build a bigger team to sort of keep whatever the Patrick Kirby kind of level of touch and impact and feeling is as you go forward? Or do you imagine you'll just stay small enough that you and one employee can run it all? Like, what do you see for the future?
Yeah, I think it's going to get big. And I think because, especially in this new normal, we got to find a new phrase for this, but new normal, I hate it. No more. But for the purpose, until we figure that out, it is now new normal. Nonprofits more than ever are going to need money. There is a major crisis in funding going away. Those that rely purely on grants are not going to see those grants come in full if they do. And those that rely on special event fundraisers face-to-face are not going to be able to sustain everything unless they have another route to do that. Yeah. So I feel like for the foreseeable future, we're going to be in a place where we can help as many people as possible. And that's going to require expansion and growth. And that requires me to give up a lot of the things that I've been used to doing for a number of years, which is horrible. And I don't like that in my brain. What I'm trying to train myself on and getting as much perspective is like, how do I do this? And hyperventilating into a bag about giving up the stupidest thing, like the dumbest things, but they require a lot of attention so that, that whole traction model of having a visionary and wanting to pursue the things that make things exciting is going to require a lot of growth. We're going to open up. And I probably shouldn't say this yet because we haven't decided what it's going to be. We're going to do events company. We're going to take your fundraising event and make it virtual. Or when this thing gets done and plan actual events itself. That's what we're going to do. I have visions of opening up a do good better culture, HR and payroll and that kind of stuff, and training and hiring. Like, that's a vision. I think do good better creative with marketing and design. I think what I want to do is, if you're a small nonprofit and you're a medium-sized nonprofit, you just don't know where the hell to start. You call me. And there's a personal approach to this on, you don't need all of this, but you need this. Yeah. But I want to offer all the stuff because if you don't need to think about it and you don't want to waste time doing things that you're not really good at, let me take that off your plate so that you can concentrate on building relationships and telling your story and making impact by doing the things that got you here in the first place. And that's ultimately what fundraising is if you can we wear like 10 billion hats as fundraisers. You're the marketer, you're the CEO, you're the HR director, you're this. Yeah. But really, if you're going to raise money to do the programs that you want to serve the people that you're serving, you got to go and get rid of all of that or concentrate on what you can do 20 minutes a day, 2 hours a day, whatever that is, to move the needle forward. And that's, I think, ultimately where I want to be, is providing everything else so that you can, and then training you on how to take the time that you now have, put it towards fundraising, be awesome at that, never need to worry about funds again, because you are building these amazing relationships with people who want to help you.
Nice. So do you think that it diffuses your focus? Well, there's a couple of things. You first, you said that in this new normal, which we don't like, that access to funds is going to be different. Did you not mean for professional fundraisers? Was that meant to say that that's why you need someone who this is their whole thing they do?
Yeah.
Like the money's still there.
Oh yeah.
It's just getting it is different.
The way that people have traditionally got it is going to change individually from groups. You know, if you are an organization that's very special event heavy, you do a gala in the fall, you do a walk in the spring, and that's the thing that you do fundraising for, you're at a loss because you can't do those things now.
Right.
You can't have a gala, you can't have a walk unless those things are virtual. How do you do it?
Well, more and more in California, the counties are saying screw the governor, so you can come to California and you can do them.
Well, or you could live in North Dakota where we've been practically open the entire time.
Right. Yeah.
There's a thing about population. We don't have 1 million people here, so we have wide open spaces. There's a reason they shoot those movies with just epic spaces that just right. But they're right. You have to change the way you do it. And if you are solely working with grants and you're only getting money through grants, you're going to need to do something different. And I think there's money out there. People who had capacity before this pandemic are still going to have capacity. People who want to give to your charity or want to give to your organization still want to give to your organization. They just need a creative way on how to do that, and you need to ask. And if you haven't been asking, we need to teach you. If you haven't been building a plan that allows you to have a diversity of funds coming in on a regular basis, you need to be taught that. Yeah. And if you need a support system or just to complain and bitch and moan about the life not being fair as an executive director, we do that too. And I think that there's this fundraising therapy element to having somebody who has been in your shoes to just unload for 20 minutes, because the world is a very lonely place as an executive director or as a fundraising director, because there's not a lot of people that you can come to and just go, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm having a problem. And if I can't say it out loud because my donors will hear it, blah, blah.
Everybody expects me to know. The secret is I have no clue.
No clue.
I'm wearing 2 different.
Yep. That's true. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Like my underpants are inside out today, and everybody's coming to me for the answers.
Yep.
I don't know how to do this. What's different? And we're going to come to time here pretty soon. But what's different between what you do and for-profit fundraising? Would you ever branch out into that? I may or may not be asking on a very personal level.
Very true.
That's neither here nor there.
No. If you're looking for venture capital, and a lot of the techniques are similar, you're looking for, as a venture capitalist, you're looking for what money can I get back as an investor. As somebody who is donating to a charity or a cause, you're looking for social capital, or you're looking for how I can feel great about what I'm doing, not expecting a major monetary return, but a social return on you leaving a legacy or helping others to do that. And I think that's the difference. The techniques are relatively the same. Instead of having an impact, instead of it as a nonprofit, like your money is going to make an impact here, your storytelling and your marketing is going to be, your investment is going to produce this. Very similar, but I think there's different techniques that you would use as pitching. You're going to go for how much money can this person make out of the investment that they have, and in the nonprofit world, you're going to say this is the impact that you're going to make, and it's going to have residual effects down the line, because either you're solving a crisis of domestic violence, and so you're providing an escape route for not only a person but families. And what that's going to have to do on generations. That's a different storytelling and passion narrative. Yeah. But I think techniques relatively the same. And same goes with the question that may come after that, which is, what's the difference between what you do individual stuff and capital campaigns for buildings, churches and schools and that kind of stuff? Relatively the same, but you're dealing with people who have mass capacity that are looking for building naming rights, legacy gifts at a longer table, that kind of thing. Yep.
Very cool, man. I feel far more informed on the world of fundraising than I was an hour ago.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah. Where can we find you if we want to know more? Where do we go to get side by side with you?
Well, you go to dogoodbetterconsulting.com. You can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn at Fundraising Dad. That's kind of the handle I have. Find me on Facebook at Do Good Better Consulting. You can find and listen for the official Do Good Better podcast on all of your favorite podcast channels and iTunes and Amazon and whatever. If you're on your Alexa, I found this out a couple weeks ago. If you go to your Alexa, play the official Do Good Better podcast, it will play the official Do Good Better. It's kind of a cool thing. And really, I want to help give answers to those who just need a little direction more than anything else. And if I can help, awesome. If I can't, find a way to get you in front of somebody who is, and usually it's quicker than you think. Most nonprofits or most individuals who are doing this kind of work are further along than they give themselves credit for. They just need to piece things together. And that's really one of my goals, is to give you a slap on the back to say, you're doing awesome things. Here, why don't you do things? I think of myself as a fundraising chiropractic doctor, where you just need a little adjustment here, and you're well on your way to doing awesome stuff. And so that's kind of how I have always gone through this whole process. So.
Love it, man. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. It was great to spend an hour together. Go find Patrick, you guys. Go find him. You may have a whole world of opportunity sitting there waiting for you that you knew nothing about. So those of you that are truly endeavor to make an impact, endeavor to really do something different, might be worth chatting with Patrick a little bit.
Heck yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. This is fun.
Absolutely, brother. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one.